We're stepping into the ring to begin this Monday edition of the SportsMax Zone. The Jamaica Boxing Association received high praises from World Boxing President Boris van der Vorst during his visit to the Jamaica soil a few weeks ago, with the Dutchman lauding the Stephen Bomber Jones-led JBA for their vision. He made the comments right here on the SportsMax Zone.
I think it's also important to stress once again that President Bomber has set a great example also for the rest of the Caribbean national federations, with the alignment with all the stakeholders involved here in Jamaica, the NOC, the Ministry of Sports, also some corporate sponsorships to support this development program. And I think that's a great example. And
World boxing boss there, and a month later, the country is again welcoming boxing royalty, this time the president of the Pan American Boxing Federation, Elise Senor, who is here in Jamaica to talk about the development of boxing in the region. Elise, welcome to the SportsMax Zone. First ever president of the Panam Boxing Association on a 5-day tour of the island. We have the pleasure of welcoming you to the studios. Let me start by asking you, how much are you enjoying Jamaica? I gather that you were enjoying Carnival on the road yesterday.
Absolutely, enjoying Jamaica very, very much. We started actually Friday night with a boxing fight night, which was particularly outstanding and amazing, and continue to Sunday experiencing the Jamaican culture with the Carnival Road March.
As a former boxer yourself, how much do you think your experience as a boxer helps you in your role as president of this big association that covers the Americas?
It's actually crucial from my perspective, because way too often people make decisions without taking into account the athletes, which are the art of our organization. Having been a boxer myself makes me stay grounded and understand what the reality is and how impactful our decisions can be when they are made in the boardrooms.
Yeah. How much of a credit do you think it is to the sport that the role that you now fill is the first ever for a woman?
There is a start to everything, so I am glad this happened. And I think it's also an example for other women within the world of boxing to understand that they can play a role, and they have a role to play. And we need to reach that representation from the female gender at every level of the organization. So we want to develop more female athletes, but we want also to have more female coaches, more female administrators, more female officials, to be able to have equity and equality within our sport.
Yeah, so we're in the Caribbean now, so I know that female boxing may be a little bit more advanced in, the USA and Canada and so on, but how much of a challenge do you think it is to get the sport going from the female side of things in the Caribbean itself?
So in the Caribbean itself, I think there are great opportunities, and I was visiting Barbados a couple of months ago, and they have program empowering women and literally recruiting women within every stage of the boxing organization.
I suspect Kathy Harper Hall is a big part of that program.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, as you continue to talk about, Lance touched on it already, women getting involved in boxing. Do you feel like, in this capacity that you hold is one of your personal objectives, seeing that you would have walked the path before? And it's beautiful because you could also share your experiences with these young girls who sometimes, girls grow up in a certain way, and it's still etched in Caribbean mindset that you're supposed to go to school, you're supposed to take a certain path, and sometimes boxing is not really the first choice for some young girls.
So you're absolutely correct. And we had a press conference this morning at the Jamaica Olympic Association, and one of the Jamaican boxers took the stage and gave her experience in boxing and why it's so important to her and what it brought to her. And she actually brought me to tears. When I heard her, I literally saw myself a few years ago.
Yeah.
And I think what I can bring, having that perspective, is opening the doors and giving a hand to people that do not necessarily know how to do and how to navigate that environment that is very male-oriented. But again, it means that females have to work a little extra hard to get that representation and to found their space. But by doing that, they're becoming better.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, you know, that mental fortitude to push forward. So you spoke about the Jamaica Olympic Association, and instantly I'm thinking about JOA President Christopher Samuda.
Yes.
And he was also at the Gloves Over Guns initiative as well on the weekend. How was that chat with him?
Very good. And I can tell you that Mr. Samuda is an ally when it comes to gender equity. And he's absolutely, totally supportive of the place of female within the sport at every level. And not just because they're female, but because they have demonstrated the quality, the knowledge, and the capabilities to be the best contributor in which position they were at.
Yeah, and Elise, you know, from the overall quality of the boxing that you saw, I know it's not only Jamaicans, there were other countries taking part. How did you feel, and do you think now that you got a glimpse into that, you have a lot of work to get done to ensure that you push the sport forward?
So a lot of work, we all have a lot of work within the Confederation, but I think what was demonstrated on Friday night was actually that when you give the opportunities to your athletes to have competition opportunities, it allows them to sharpen their tools and to really grow, because you have the knowledge that whatever you learn in the boxing gym, but then you apply it in the ring under pressure, and you can understand, where do I have gaps? What do I need to address to really grow as a boxer? And bringing in people from the Cayman Islands or from the UK to offer those competition opportunity to local boxers is extremely important to allow them the path for growth to the Olympics.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued that your visit has come, only weeks after the World Boxing President visited Jamaica. Give us a broader perspective as to the reason for this visit.
So the reason behind it happened now because I couldn't come before, as I had other engagements, so I had to make it fit within the traveling schedule. But I've been knowing the president, Stephen Jones, of the Jamaican Boxing Association for quite a few years already, and we've always been in touch and working together. And when I started at the helm of the Pan American Boxing Confederation, I also realized that talking to the National Federation for too long, Jamaica and the Caribbeans at large have not been given the proper tool to grow, and have not had a fair representation or enough representation. And I believe that if we manage to help and support the countries, Jamaica and the countries within the Caribbean, to actually grow and get a bigger share of representation, we will be winning.
Yeah. And how can the Pan American Confederation help with that, not just for Jamaica, but for this entire region?
So, so Jamaica, with Stephen Jones, has demonstrated that they have a few programs that exist and could actually be scaled across more countries within the Caribbean and even outside, to be quite honest with you. And I know that one of them, Gloves Over Gun, was in Jamaica, but was extended to Barbados.
Yeah.
So they have that program also out in Barbados, and this is a true success. Yeah. So if it's a success, there is no reason it cannot be a success in another location.
Yeah. And what was the visit in Barbados like, by the way? Because I gather you were there some time ago as well.
So it was before my election at the head of the Confederation, but there is one thing that I always do. No matter where I go, I visit a boxing gym, I meet boxing people, I go train, I go to event, because as an athlete, I understand that keeping close to the grassroots keeps you grounded and makes you understand what the sports really need. You have the Olympic podium and the Olympic pathway, but it doesn't start there. This is the end goal. This is the ultimate goal. You need to start with the grassroots to really develop the sport.
Yeah, a touchy issue that I'm going to go to now, because I know that because of some political issues, the Guyana Boxing Association, because they were aligned with the IBA as opposed to the World Boxing, may be a little bit outside of the nucleus of things at the moment. but Guyana is the most, or one of the most vibrant boxing territories in the entire CARICOM region. Is there a plan to sway them over into the world boxing? Because I know that they have been more aligned to the IBA, which at the moment is not good for them.
So you're correct. From my international experience, I actually know Stephen Ninville very well. Yes. In Guyana. I think administrators need to understand what is good for their boxers. And it doesn't matter the political aspect of things. It's really about what is the pathway for my boxers and my athlete. The athlete needs to be at the forefront of the organization and the mind of everyone. And the path to the Olympic, right now, it is very clear that it is world boxing. Yes. So it's a discussion that
needs to happen.
Exactly. Yeah. And my door is, and my phone is more than open. He has my number. My door is more than open. We can have had differences in terms of perspective and vision, but right now the path is very clear. And world boxing, as long as you're a national federation, you fill out the application system and process, and you meet the requirements, there will absolutely be no problem.
Yeah, because Guyana's boxing is vibrant, and I think Guyana has produced more world boxing champions in the past 20 years than any other Caribbean country. So Steve Ninville and his team would want to be aligned with the world boxing to ensure that, you know, they are a part of the movement of the Panam Boxing Federation. Can I ask you this, though? Does your association, or is your association willing to approach the IOC with regard to things like Olympic qualification? Because boxing is one of the hardest Olympic qualifying procedures at the moment. And because of that, we hardly find boxers from the Caribbean qualifying for the Olympics. I don't think there was a Caribbean boxer in Paris. There may have been one or two in Tokyo, but it's very difficult for people from this part of the world, except the Cubans, who have always been good. Is that something that you would tackle then, to try to get the IOC to probably reshape the qualification system to give countries from like the Caribbean a better opportunity?
So for the LA 2028 Olympics, a letter was actually issued by the IOC to all the National Olympic Committees regarding the qualification system and qualification system principle. While the IOC is responsible for running the event, they need to receive some instruction and some criteria from the International Federation. So this is the job of world boxing, to prepare a system and a qualification, procedure to lead up to LA 2028. In terms of representation, to be able to have boxers representing the Caribbean at the Olympic Games and have that chance to bring a medal home, it means that we need to make sure that within that qualification system, they can shine and have the experience that they need ahead of those tournaments to be able to perform during the tournament that will be the qualifying path to the Olympics. So the IOC can have something present, but we have to provide those athletes with the opportunities that they need, the support that they deserve to be able to shine, because the talent is here.
Yeah. Can I ask you then, because I've heard Van Voorst speak before, and you said it since your arrival, that part of that development process involves more regular competition between boxers from different territories. You don't want to be fighting the same boxers all the time, because that will impede the rates at which you can improve. Yeah. So how much work will go into ensuring that Caribbean boxers get more opportunities to develop themselves before, as you said, were Olympic qualifiers? Because if it's the Olympic qualifiers that they're going to use to learn That's too late, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're completely correct. So what we've been doing, so please keep in mind that we've been existing since March 15, the official date.
You've just started, yes.
Nevertheless, in the few amounts of weeks that we have had, we have sat down with our chair of sports and competition for Pan America, and we have literally drafted the calendar from LA 2028 up to today, and looking at which tournament, multi-sport event do we have across 25, 26, 27, leading up to 28, and where do we have space and where do we need a qualifying system to get to those tournaments, or how do we have certain national federations that have more means than other to host potentially national tournament that is open to international competition, which means that, let's say tomorrow you found a country within the Caribbean that can host a championship under national guidance to invite other people from the Caribbean. So the idea is to bring the competition closer to the Caribbean to allow for participation, because we know that there is a cost impact to it and the logistic. It's not easy to travel from Barbados, for example, to India.
Yeah.
It's not an easy one. Exactly. So how do you bring those competition home? And again, it could be also more collaboration within the countries. So when we were at the show with Steven on Friday night, I was talking to him, I said, I have a program in New York of boxing. Why don't we have a team coming down and we can just meet? Or you reach out to different national federation. Is there a couple of boxers that you would like to send out, and vice versa? And it could be, and I think that's really one of the things that I have in my heart, is to create bridges between national federation. We cannot keep working in silos. We need to learn from each other and work together for our boxers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and your Panam Federation embraces the entire Americas.
Exactly.
North America, South America, Central America, and the Caribbean.
Absolutely.
Elise, it's great having you in Jamaica. I think you have just one more day left on your visit here.
Yes, I do.
We hope that you enjoy the rest of your visit. And we know that you're doing some really good work, even though you've just started.
Thank you.
Your vision for the sport in the Americas is a great one, and we wish you tremendous success in your tenure as the boss.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
Okay, that's Elise Senor. She is head of the Pan American Boxing Federation, and she's been in Jamaica on a 5-day visit, talking about or meeting with the officials and having meetings, Zoom meetings with other officials from the Americas about developing the sport in the entire confederation. Great having her in Jamaica, and we look to see boxing improve in the region. We go to break. We'll be back with more on the SportsMax Zone after this.